Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. Of course, you can follow me on Twitter and now on Vero at Movies TV Mad. And welcome to Thursday's edition of the DCEU Daily. The multiverse isn't about one size fits all. I repeat, the multiverse strategy isn't about one size fitting all. It's not about the MCU. Now, this was an interesting point. The guy who wrote that article for Forbes yesterday was trying to say DC has already got so many different universes that are not connected. And I think a lot of people are kind of not understanding what's going on here. Now, the plan in the Flash movie is to align everything as one universe, but still have these different universes being separate. But it means that things can cross over, but it will be part of one universe. But what's great for the consumer is, if you're a fan of the Batgirl movie, but you're not interested, for example, in the Aquaman movie, then you don't have to watch that. The whole idea is to have something for everyone. Now, the Joker sequel was an interesting thing as well, isn't it? In that context, because you may be a fan of Todd Phillips and Joaquin Phoenix's Joker movie, but you may not necessarily be a fan of the other DC live action projects, either whether we're talking about films from the past or films coming up or television shows or streaming shows. You don't have to embrace it all. You may want to after the Flash movie. It may get you excited. I think it's going to get me excited, and I think I'm going to want to watch everything. But that's the whole point, having something for everyone. Because one of the problems with the DCEU from its inception, that it wasn't pleasing everyone. It was kind of okay for certain people. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed what Snyder was doing. I still want to see more from Snyder. But I also kind of don't want to wave aside my fellow DC fans and say, well, I liked what Snyder was doing, you know, F you, I don't care what you think. No, it shouldn't be about that. It should be everyone getting a slice of the pie. And this is what the multiverse strategy is going to do. So I think that's very, very important to kind of discuss this and look at this so that there's going to be something for you that you like within this multiverse strategy. And I think that's what's exciting about it. But they are going to align everything together. Don't misunderstand me, but it doesn't mean you have to binge everything, because this isn't the MCU, you know, where it's all part of one universe and people feel if they miss one thing, they could miss something very important. That's an interesting gimmick that Feig's come up with. It means you have to embrace all the projects. I think with the DC Extended Universe, there's some things you're going to like, and there's some things you're not going to like. But there's certainly going to be a more connected universe, and I think this is what mainstream audiences want. And as I've explained before, you know, Warner Brothers Pictures is a company. You know, Warner Discovery will be a business looking to make as much money from DC as possible. And, you know, they're not here just to please one set of fans. And that's not necessarily a dig at the Snyderverse fans either, by the way, before people say that. It's maybe you're a fan of the Arrowverse. It doesn't mean everything is going to be Arrowverse centric, but they will be part of this multiverse strategy now, which is exciting. And later on I will read an article from the Hollywood Reporter that is sharing some rumours that actually Viacom and WB are looking to sell the CW. And what this could mean, I don't think much will change, because apparently WB will still be making content to whoever buys the platform. So that's interesting. So don't expect Arrowverse to fall just because the CW potentially could be sold, but you could see big projects like Superman and Lois, which we'll be talking about a little bit later on as well, kind of moving to HBO Max, because I do believe that universe has been kind of divorced from Arrowverse a little bit. It's still part of that universe, but they've separated it quite a lot, and it's not reliant like the other properties on crossovers and kind of Easter eggs. And I think the reason they've separated it a bit, because I think Tyler Hoechlin's Superman and his, you know, supporting characters will be a big part of kind of the movies as well. So that's going to be interesting. I think he will show up as well and be part of a new Justice League, maybe a multiversal Justice League, which I've spoken about a lot. No one else is really talking about a multiversal Justice League because it's all about negativity on social media, but there's a lot of good ideas that are going to come from the Flash movie, and a lot of people are talking about the potential the Flash movie brings along with it, because one of the claims from Andy Muschietti has been about making the multiverse, the franchise, not just being about the DC Extended Universe, the DCEU Earth 1, but these other Earths and pocket universes. And I think that's a lot of fun. But still, you can consume whatever part of this multiverse that you like. And I think that's very, very interesting. Now let's move on to the Joker sequel, because I think this is interesting, because I don't think anyone thought or maybe even wanted a Joker sequel. So it's interesting that Todd Phillips has agreed to do this, and apparently Joaquin Phoenix has agreed to do this. But I think it's interesting because when you read that document that was leaked, it doesn't say he's directing it. I don't think the Joker sequel is a Joker sequel. I think it's a movie that could involve Joaquin Phoenix as the Joker, but it could be about the next character. So I don't necessarily think this is going to be kind of a Joker sequel. I think the Joker will be part of this universe. He could cameo or something like this. And I think that's why Todd's actually writing this. And maybe he's going to tap someone else to direct it. And I think that would be very interesting. Now, my sources are telling me that Bradley Cooper could be playing the next villain, because he produced the Joker movie. Not only could he be playing the next villain, but Bradley could direct the next movie as well. So that's why I'm hearing that not necessarily are we getting a Joker sequel, but we're getting the next movie in this universe. Now, there's been a lot of debate whether Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker universe and Matt Reeves the Batman universe are the same universe. Now, normally what I would say is that Matt Reeves wouldn't want this. Matt Reeves is an auteur, and he's going to introduce his own Joker. And I would normally say, yes, this is probably a thing, but I think things are in such a kind of flux right now, and because they want to link everything together, they could actually join the Joker universe and Matt Reeves the Batman universe. But most probably, that's like a theory of mine that's wrong. That's wishful thinking, because I just think Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker in Matt Reeves' world would fit. It would be perfect. It's that gritty, realistic version of this rogues gallery. We've seen the kind of Penguin he's going to have, the kind of Riddler he's going to have, and they're very, very real world, gritty versions of these rogues gallery. And it's just like Joaquin Phoenix is the Joker. As I say, he would fit perfectly. Now, more than likely, I am wrong about this, but I think we need to keep an open mind, because right now, as we can see, anything is possible. If I said to you 5 years ago that Grant Gusting's The Flash and Ezra Miller's The Flash would cross over on an Arrowverse show, right, on an Arrowverse crossover show, Crisis on Infinite Earths, on the CW, a movie version of The Flash crossing over with a television version of The Flash, would you have believed me? No, you would not. What this shows is that Aaron Sarnoff and Walter Hamada are very kind of open to new ideas and listening to their creatives as well. This is something that Guggenheim came up with. I forgot his first name, kind of one of the people who created Arrowverse. And he pushed it, and you know, Ezra Miller was very open to doing it and very excited about doing it, as was Grant, which I think was a defining factor as well. Now, when I was growing up in the 80s and the 90s, there's no way a movie actor would turn up as his or her character or their characters on a television show. It just didn't happen. They worried about their careers. Ooh, I'm a film actor. I can't be on that crummy, low-budget television show. But things have changed now. You will see Gal Gadot turning up on maybe DC streaming shows. Now, Gal Gadot's very important because already she's turning up in Shazam! Fury of the Gods. And she's going to be in the Flash movie. We know that already. So these things are happening. So she's a big part of the future of the DC Extended Universe, as is Jason Momoa's Aquaman. There's doubts over Affleck and Cavill, but there are no doubts over Aquaman and Wonder Woman, because their versions of the characters were absolutely embraced. Now, Henry Cavill's version has been embraced by the mainstream, but not necessarily the movies and the take on his version of Superman. So it's interesting. So you're asking them to say, well, okay, the mainstream audience didn't like Cavill's Superman kind of interpretation and movies, but we'll bring him back and realign what we did with him. It's difficult. And again, I can't tell you here or now what the future is for Cavill and Affleck. I still think cameos, but we'll have to wait and see. So you can see that the multiverse has a lot of potential here. And I don't know what the future holds for the Snyderverse either. But this multiverse idea is happening at least for this year, and its future will be defined on how the public react to it. Now, we've seen a new kind of picture of Robert Pattinson's rain-soaked Batman costume. He's in it, by the way. And look, the more I see Matt Reeves' style for the Batman costume, the more I liked it. Because when I first saw it, because it's so different from Affleck's or Keaton's or Bale's, and when things are new, it's hard to get used to. It's like when I first saw Brandon Routh in his Superman costume, I went, ugh. But as I watched Superman Returns several times, because I love that movie, now when I watch it, I think, well, that actually works for Brandon. Just like the Kingdom Come suit and the way they've designed it looks great for his body type now. I believe his body type now, Brandon's, is better than it was then. And I don't think the Superman Returns costume shows off how broad Brandon is. In fact, I think that costume makes him look smaller. But I still think it's a pretty cool costume. I don't like the fact that the S-shield is so small, but it's still cool. And it's basically the last Superman costume we've seen in live action with the red shorts. Now, I'm not passionate about the red shorts one way or the other. I think it's cool if they're there, and it's cool if they're not. But anyway, here's a picture of Robert Pattinson standing in the soaking rain, and he looks very, very intimidating. And I will say now that I'm used to this costume, I'm very, very happy with it. It's very definitive. I like it. I like the material. I like the way it looks. It looks sensational. Of course, I'm very excited for the Batman. Batman is the most popular costume character in comics. He still is. I think when you think about what characters are the most popular right now, I'd say the two DC characters that guarantee huge box office right now are Batman and the Joker. Just look at the recent box office for his movies. Now, BVS, didn't make $1 billion, but it still made good money, right? The Dark Knight trilogy did well as well, and anything the Joker's in is successful. I think these two characters are more popular than anyone or anything apart from Spider-Man right now. I think Spider-Man and Batman and the Joker are the most popular comic book characters right now, and Spider-Man No Way Home proves that. But this is going to be a huge movie, and I think people are going to love this movie. I think it has a distinct, unique style. It's really telling a definitive story, and it's giving us Batman as he was meant to be originally, the great detective. And I would expect to see a lot of shocks, and I've compared it, and a lot of people have compared it to Fincher's Seven. I think we could have we are going to have a shock, drop the mic moment at the end of that film. And one of my theories, of course, is that Alfred is the big head honcho, the gangster, the villain who ordered the murder of the Waynes. And I think this could be why who's playing Alfred is playing him, because he's just a phenomenal actor. In fact, he's not just a phenomenal actor, he's a phenomenal director. We know what he did in the Lord of the Rings and Matt's Planet of the Apes movies, the second and the third movie. He's such a good actor. So I'm so excited to see what we get from Alfred. I personally think we have never seen a superhero movie, a comic book adaptation movie like this before. And of course it's right that it is in its own Earth. Now, will we see other DC characters cameo in this movie? Yes, I think we will. We've already seen the fancy dress of Wonder Woman and Superman, so that either means they're fictional characters in Earth 2, which would be an interesting take, not the take that I would want, or they exist somewhere. But basically, I don't think you're going to get much explanation. So that's a kind of great Easter egg. So, you know, this is a fully fledged Earth already, Earth 2. And obviously it's got other DC characters. So I just think The Batman is a very, very exciting film. So much to look forward to if you're a fan of DC in the live action universe. So much stuff going on, starting with Peacemaker again. Not everyone is going to enjoy Peacemaker, but there's an audience for James Gunn's Suicide Squad universe. Probably on HBO Max is the future for that. But as I say, it's about having something for everyone. But The Batman is a very, very exciting project. Superman and Lois star teases Jonathan Kent's Season 2 storyline. Superman and Lois' Jordan Alas, who plays Superman's son Jonathan Kent, teases the character's storyline in Season 2 of the Arrowverse series. I need to cough. Excuse me, I know that was a bit random. By Nathan Graham Lowry of Screen Rant. Superman and Lois' Jordan Alas, who plays Superman's son Jonathan Kent, teases the character's storyline in Season 2 of the Arrowverse series. The show was renewed for a second season in March 2021, with the first episode set to premiere on January the 11th. Alas stars alongside Tyler Hoechlin, Elizabeth Tulloch and Alex Garfin. Jonathan, the son of the last son of Krypton and the world-renowned journalist, as well as the brother of an introvert slowly discovering his own remarkable powers, has already faced his fair share of struggle in Superman and Lois, on top of the typical teen troubles like popularity, relationships. Season 1 brought the Kent family into contact with rogue, long-lost Kryptonian half-brothers and consciousness-swapping human experiments, resulting in Clark Hoechlin revealing the truth about Morgan Edge, Tal-Rho, Adam Rayner, to the world after foiling a plot to resurrect Krypton. Now this is interesting, isn't it? Because this was such a similar Man of Steel plot. So I think it's interesting that they chose to do this again in a kind of way. It kind of shows you that actually the showrunner and the guy who is running everything, a really great guy who was involved in the first 2 seasons of The Flash, and they were awesome, wasn't they? That he wanted to prove a point, that that element was very, very fascinating of Man of Steel. And he did it again in a different way. I mean, it's interesting why it shadowed what Snyder, kind of Goya and Nolan were doing with that film. It's definitely intriguing why they went that way, with showrunner Todd Helbing teasing that Season 2 will feature multiple villains. The Kent surely won't be getting any rest anytime soon. Speaking in a featurette uploaded to the CW Network YouTube channel, Alas teased that Jonathan will encounter in Season 2 storyline. Alas revealed that the football storyline will return in Season 2, with Jonathan struggling with the effects of the isolation brought by Season 1. He stated that Jonathan would grapple with his emotions, doing whatever he can to live his normal life and fit in at school. Check out Alas's quote below. For Season 2, well, it has already been revealed that football is back. You know, we're going to see some of the effect of the isolation that he felt in Season 1 and sort of what that's doing to him and what he's going to do to get back in the game and what he's willing to do to fit in. To be honest with you, I always used to get bored of the football storyline in Smallville. I'm glad when they got rid of it, and I kind of got bored at the kind of initial early Season 4 when they were focusing on Clark going back and Jonathan not agreeing with it. They kind of moved away from it in the end, and I'm happy about it. But yeah, this football story doesn't excite me for Jonathan. You know, Jonathan Kent is actually the one with powers in the comics, and there's not actually a Jordan, right? So it's interesting where they're going with this. Will he ever have powers? That's the question all the fans of this show are asking. I say yes. I still think they're grooming these 2 brothers to be the good one and the bad one, but we'll see what they do with that. While details for the show's second season have been kept under tight wraps, fans have been teased with casting reveals and glimpses of the first episode's title in September 2021, Tulloch posted an image of Season 2's premiere episode script on Twitter, revealing the title to be What Lies Beneath. Season 2 will also see Hecklin's Teen Wolf co-star Ian Bohen join the show as a guest star, playing the Department of Defense Lieutenant Mitch Anderson in a recurring role, while Jenna Dewan is set to reprise her Arrowverse role as Lucy Lane, Lois' Tulloch's sister. I think she's the one who could end up being annoying on this show, but we'll see what happens with that. A Lass's tease for Season 2 promises that the show will continue to explore the struggle between an ordinary life and superheroism. The only issue with that is he's not a superhero, he doesn't even have powers, but maybe that's the beginning of his powers developing. We'll have to wait and see. With the world-threatening foes and dealing with being the son of one of Earth's finest heroes, it is promising to hear that Jonathan's struggles with being an ordinary kid will still be a major part of his story, grounding the character and making him more relatable. He's already relatable. However, with the threat to the Kent still being unknown to fans, who knows how Superman and Lois' Season 2 villains could upend Jonathan's life. Now, actually what's going to happen is that Superman and Lois will have separate threats this year. She will have an enemy to deal with, interesting, which is great for Lizzie Tulloch as well, because she's been great as Lois Lane. I didn't really agree with her casting initially, but she's been absolutely fantastic. And of course, Tyler Hoechlin's Clark Kent Superman will have his super villain threats to deal with as well. And of course, we've got lots of other things going on as well, and there's going to be multiple kind of supporting characters this season. I don't want Superman to be left behind. I understand the emotional element. This is a low-budgeted Superman television show. You know, I'd love to see Superman punching the shit out of villains every episode, but you can't have that for 51 whole minutes. They simply don't have the budget, so they have to fill it up with something. This is what Smallville did. All those great Lionel and Lex scenes and all the emotional element with Clark and Lana and Clark and Lois and, you know, Chloe and everything else. But I think Superman and Lois haven't done that element as well as Smallville did. Our Miles really knew how to pack a punch emotionally, as well as giving us great superhero moments. I don't think Superman and Lois is as proficient as doing that. I'm not criticising what they've done or how they've done it, but for me personally, it's not better than Smallville. Yeah, it's great to have a proper Superman show. I get that, but I still think in terms of superhero shows, Smallville is the GOAT. It's the GOAT because it earned the right. It did everything. It told a pre-Superman story. It left no stone unturned in terms of DC characters, apart from the ones like Batman and Wonder Woman they couldn't use. They even had their own DC extended universe. Smallville did it best. And I'm talking about not just television, but in movies. For quite a while now, I've been very suspicious about the CW, and especially its Arrowverse situation. We've seen shows cancelled. We've seen them kind of dulled back from Arrowverse a little bit. I mean, COVID-19 has been one of the major reasons, but it seemed like something was going on now. Now we're hearing that the CW is up for sale. Viacom, CBS and Warner Media exploring sale of the CW. Now, it's important to understand who actually owns the CW and what was the CW before it was the CW. CW was called the WB Network, owned of course by Warner Brothers. They then merged with Viacom CBS, and it's been a merged property ever since. Now, we can talk about the defined differences from the WB Network and the CW, but the WB Network was a network for adult kids, really. Teenagers and kids a little bit younger. They had cartoons, but they had teen series, and this is why they came up with Smallville. But Smallville worked for everyone. Really, Smallville put the WB Network on the map. And when the CW first took over, they were in trouble. And if it wasn't for Smallville, they would have gone bankrupt a very long time ago. The CW is up for sale. The broadcast network, home to shows like Batwoman and Walker, is being shot by its corporate owners, excuse me, Viacom, CBS and Warner Media. Multiple sources confirmed to The Hollywood Reporter. The Wall Street Journal, which first reported the news, says that the local TV giant Nexstar is among the potential suitors. Nexstar, which owns 199 local TV stations as well as the cable channel news station. and The Hill is one of the largest owners of the CW stations. It isn't immediately clear whether Viacom, CBS and Warner Media plan to sell the entire network or retain a minority stake. Normally what happens is these people retain a minority stake. For example, the Discovery Warner Media deal is basically showing AT&T still holding a majority stake, but Discovery creatively being in charge. That's an odd arrangement, but there's always some kind of, they don't sell everything. I mean, George Lucas still has a little controlling interest in Lucasfilm. It doesn't put him in any powerful kind of position there, but he's still got it. So anyway, news of the possible sale arrives as the network, a joint venture between CBS and Warner Media, has never been profitable since its formation in 2006. Again, this is something I explained. When the two companies merged, the former UPN and the WB network, much of the revenue that is generated from the younger skewing network is generated from international and streaming sales for such scripted originals as The Flash and Dynasty. The CW previously had a long-standing output deal with Netflix that helped series like Riverdale and All American reach broader audiences and ultimately grow on linear. That pact ended in 2019 as Warner Brothers TV and CBS Studios shifted library deals to their respective streamers HBO Max and Paramount. But by the way, if you live outside of America and places HBO Max is not available, those Netflix deals still stand. Also impacting the profit margins on the originals is the fact that foreign sales have almost entirely ended as CBS Studios and Warner look to retain those rights for their respective streamers. And here's the problem. So you're kind of biting your nose off to spite your face. The end of Netflix output deal and the loss of revenue from foreign sales created a larger concern for the studios who previously generated revenue not from linear but from Netflix and international sales. The CW under CEO Mark Pedowitz, who ranks as the longest tenured broadcast topper, targets viewers 18 to 34 and offers originals available for free on its website and the CW seed. The network was originally designed to feature programming supplied by 50/50 by Warner and CBS Studios, thanks in part to the success of Greg Berlanti's DC Comics universe of shows including The Flash, Superman and Lois, Batwoman and The Flash and Legends of Tomorrow, among others. Warner's has been the primary supplier of content on the network. CBS Studios supplies scripted fare including Dynasty, TV's lowest rated original, and Charmed, while other originals that are not based on either DC or CBS IP are co-produced between both studios. Multiple industry insiders have speculated in recent years that Viacom CBS should divest its stake in the CW as its output on the network declined. News that Warner Media, ahead of its Discovery takeover, would look to sell its stake or become a passive partner in the CW would be a surprise given how much of the network the Channing Dungey-led studio programs. Reps for Warner Media and Viacom CBS did not immediately respond to THR's request for comment. A spokesperson for Nexstar declined to comment. So it's interesting. So it looks like Discovery are not interested in having anything to do with the CW network, and they've been told it's not. Basically what David Zaslav and Discovery have said, say, listen, this company is costing us money. It doesn't make money. We don't want it. Get rid of it. Now, I said earlier that it looks like WB would still make output for it, but I have no idea what's going to happen. But it's interesting. What could happen is they could still make output for it, but they wouldn't be, owning a network is different than making output for a network. Very, very different. And who's going to pay for that? Well, whoever buys it, Nexstar will have to pay them to make it for them. So it's a better deal for them. So the CW network can't lose what it's got now because it's been sold on the premise of what it puts out. So it's better for WB and even CBS Viacom to actually say, right, we'll sell it to you, we'll make the programs and you'll buy them off of us. And this is what Discovery have decided. So all of a sudden you're seeing decisions being made as we get closer and closer to the Warner Discovery deal. I think this is a right decision. I think this is a great decision. And what I would say to you, people who love the content on the CW, especially the DC stuff, I don't think anything's going to change. I think you'll still be able to see that stuff. But what you will also see in this kind of sale is that Warner Brothers will say, well, you ain't having Superman and Lois, you ain't having this, and you ain't having that. So it'd be very interesting what the network keeps. So a very interesting turn of events. And as I say, this is all to do with the Warner Media Discovery merger. The Discovery AT&T merger is the biggest thing to ever happen in the entertainment industry, and it will create big changes within Warner Brothers Studios. And I think what David Zaslav will do will put the best people in charge. So keep your ears open, because you're going to be hearing lots of little decisions being made now. Because as we get closer to this deal, it's very interesting. And as I said a few weeks ago, I do believe that Bob Iger will be brought in as either a consultant or someone to run the entertainment side of Warner Discovery. And if that happens, that would be huge. A few weeks ago, it was Jason Kilar talking about Bob Iger as he officially left Disney. So watch this space. As you know, my predictions normally come true, not all of them, but I have got a good eye and a smell and a good gut feelings for these things. So we'll have to wait and see. This has been the DCEU Daily. I'm Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Like, share, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss this perfection. And I'll see you again tomorrow with even more DCEU Daily. Until then, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.